Yo, 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 yo. Hey guys, welcome back to another awesome edition of the Best Practices Show podcast. Are you a dentist thinking, how do I build my dental dream team? How do I find an amazing group of people and keep them for a long period of time and make sure that they really want to be here? Well, if you're asking that question, I'm here to tell you it's completely possible. And I get it. It's not easy. There's a lot of factors out there that can make this challenging. But if you get it right, it'll change the game. Recently, we did a webinar with Heather Crockett, and it was called Building Your Dream Team, Retention Through Shared Values, where we dissect this and put it all together. And it was so good, I thought I would share the audio version on the podcast. So here it is. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you soon. Welcome to the webinar today, where I have the amazing Heather Crockett. She's one of our coaches here, and we're going to walk you through building your dental dream team, retention through shared values. Truly one of the favorite things that we talk about, only because we've lived it firsthand, and we also coach dental practices all over the country that do this work. Now, we're going to take you right into it. We're going to show you exactly what we do, not only internally, but what we do with great practices. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you don't know what we do, we're practice coaches. So we coach practices all over the country. Heather is one of our pro coaches. And most of the practices that come to us, they're not broken. They're actually really good or great dental practices. They're just kind of stuck. And so they're looking at, how do we improve things? How do we improve the culture? How do we improve results? How do we not feel so stressed? And a big piece of this is getting this element in place so that everything else works. Now, a couple points of business before we get started. There's three things that we do, and I'll explain them a little bit more here in a second. We have our BPA community. We have our Two to the Top Study Club, and we actually obviously have our pro coaching. Our Two to the Top Study Club is growing, and it's awesome. I always dreamed of having a club or a study club that we would be learning along with some of the best leaders anywhere in the country. Now we have two groups of 50 now, and we're going to add a third group, and they run concurrently every quarter. And I'll talk about it a little bit more as we get going, but we believe in it so much. It's called the To the Top Study Club Golden Ticket. If you want to come, just check it out, kick the tires. You can come for free, hang out with us, and take all the information. You don't have to stay. Like if you don't like it, you can take all the information, chalk it up as a great day of education. It's on Fridays. We go from 8 to 3, and we show you our best stuff. Plus, you get to learn from everybody else in the room that's doing the exact same thing. It's your opportunity to get away from your life and your business and your family in a good way and think better about your business once a quarter, once every 90 days. Just go be around other entrepreneurs in dentistry that own their own practices, and you get to learn from everybody in the room. Now, selfishly, I love it because I'm never wanted to be the smartest person in the room, and you hear a lot of incredible stuff. It's an incredible day of CE for me, and you can imagine it's great for you. So if you want to come, be our guest. It's a golden ticket. Gina will be your personal concierge, and she'll arrange the setup. Now, 3 paths. People are always like, what do you do? I'll explain this. There's 3 paths. You can do it on your own. You can do it in a group, or we can help you do it. And do it on your own is our Best Practices Association. We now have over 900 people back there. It's amazing and growing every single day. And it's all the stuff that we're learning. It's all the podcasts, all of our tools, all the videos. We just put them in one place where you can have the best information. Anything that you have challenges with, like cancellations, like scheduling, like financial arrangements, you're going to see a whole arrangement of tools that help you get results, that tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. And it's all right back there. You can do it in the group, which is our To the Top Study Club. which is our group of learners in there. And it's a whole lot of fun. We already chatted about that a little bit. And if you're like, I've just tried everything, I've done this, I've done that, I just got to get this done, you can look into having one-on-one coaching with one of our pro experts, and they will save you thousands of hours of trying to figure this out, because that's what we do. We make doctors and teams do this stuff. We hold them accountable and get stuff done. That's the biggest part of this process. And so make sure you join us back in the BPA community. This recording, as well as every recording we do, we put it back there, and you can consume it on your own asynchronously on the go. And we actually have an app now. And we're building our own customized app that will be out in, I think, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So you'll be able to go to the Apple iStore, and it's free. I mean, the first version of it is free. And then if you want more, you can obviously upgrade in that whole process. So make sure you check that out. Eventually, I'll let you know when that's available. So let's talk about this. I'm going to walk you through the process of what we're going to do in this webinar. We're going to cover 9 components of how to build your dental dream team. Now, I'm telling you, I talk about this all the time with my friends, with our clients, and people are like, oh my gosh, here he goes with this whole dream team thing. If you follow this process, I guarantee you it works. I guarantee you. The problem is people don't want to do the hard work. They just don't want to do it. They're looking for the easy button. And we'll give you some easy buttons today, but this is the hard work that makes your life better. And so we're going to cover 9 components today. We're going to cover why is having defined core values important in your business. It's the most important thing you will ever do. And why is it? What are they? And why? And the third thing is why core values are actually verbs. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. Number 4, we're going to talk about the role that strong core values play in team culture and results. We're going to talk about also how to identify my core values. Specifically, how do we do that? We actually have a tool for that. Number 6, we're going to talk about how core values are an important part of your unique employment proposition. Hiring has become more challenging than ever. And more than 50% of dentists now that are practicing say that their number one challenge will be for the rest of their careers, hiring, growing, and keeping great people. And that is true. And we're going to show you how to make it a little bit easier. We're going to talk about the right people, right seats scorecard, which is an important component of this. And then we're going to show you how to use the scorecard and some final takeaways. Any other thoughts, Heather, before we get rolling?
Nope, nailed it.
She says that all the time. Let's do it. All right, so why is this important? This is so important because hiring and retaining a team that truly supports your practice's success can be one of the most challenging things you'll ever do. Everybody talks about it. It's the people. It's the dentistry is not the hardest part. It's finding the right people, putting them in place, and saying to yourself, when you go to work, these are my people. And I'll just go there before we go down in the details. How important is it to have a great team? And everyone goes, oh, I'm going to speak to a very large group tomorrow. And I'm going to ask, how important is it to have a great team? And everyone goes, well, it's very important. I'm like, okay, let's give it some data. Is it a 6 out of 10? Is it a 7 out of 10? What number is it? And then inevitably somebody will say, well, it's a 12. And that is correct. When you get the right people, it changes your life super fast. Now, it's not easy to do. But this is the good work that makes it easier to identify who are the right people. When you get people aligned with your practice values, you're going to see everything gets better. The behaviors, the decisions, the friction goes away. People are naturally motivated. People tell me all the time, and this is what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to see somebody tomorrow when they're checking in for the event. And they're going to go, I'm so glad. Can you just bump people up today? I really need my team to be motivated. Now, I can do that for an hour, but they're going to forget everything. My question to you is, what do they have to be authentically motivated about? And then we can just add to the process. And so we're going to talk about how it impacts hiring, retention, team development, all those things. So it's the core piece of how this actually becomes healthy. Now, it's also important because when you get aligned, it gets everybody thinking the same thing. Now, alignment is this. You don't have to agree with people. You might have a huge practice, We have some people in our community. We have one group. They have over 400 team members. He and she who run it, they can't spend all their time making sure everyone agrees. They spend their time getting everyone aligned on the values, what we're doing, how all this is working. So then you can also create the cultural foundation. They form the base of how this all works. You can feel it in a dental office when somebody has this in place. You'll just say to yourself, there's something crazy different. You can see it mostly in the eyes of the team members that are in the practice. And then you're also going to retain and grow people. That's a big piece of it. One of your things is you might find great people, but here's the downside of having great people. Write this down, please. When you have a great person, there's a danger. They have to be challenged. It has to get better. You can't just set it and forget it. They need to know that this work matters. It's getting better. My leaders are getting better. I'm getting better. And so when you have these values in place, they speak more than just the work. They are the glue that keeps everybody together. They retain great people and they grow team members. And you also don't live in fear. Let me just say this, I'm an idiot. For me to even be able to talk about this, I'm so grateful because I've screwed up more than anybody ever that's ever listening to this. And when you do it, you're going to see, wow, that worked. Wow, that worked. And you don't live in fear. Let me explain. I hope that in this process, as I've done this with our leaders, I hope our values and what matters about this work is so strong that if my team members ever left, I would celebrate that and go, that's awesome. Not that they would be taken away by another. It's on me to create something that's attractive enough, sticky enough, meaningful enough that people go, I could see myself being a part of something bigger than myself in this whole thing. That's the upside. One more thing that happens, that's not true. I'll always say one more thing, but it's always 10 more things. When you lean into this work, all the crazy stuff goes away. When you really get your core values right, it's like crazy stuff repellent. It's like you're spraying it everywhere and you're like, I don't deal with the crazy stuff I used to deal. I used to deal with some pretty crazy stuff. I remember one team member saying to me, don't you dare put me in that room with her. I am not going in that room with her. And I remember dealing with that. And I don't have those things anymore. And it's not because I'm all that smart. It's all because we started to agree on how people operate and behave. Heather, anything else?
Yeah, something that you say often, Kirk, is that this is when the magic happens. When you have people in your organization that share the same values that you do, just waking up in the morning is so much easier. The burnout goes down. It might not go away completely, but it goes down. And when you're driving into work and you park in the parking lot, you don't have those anxious feelings of, what am I going to have to deal with today, specifically with the team, because your team is part of the value piece.
Yeah. I say this all the time. I say it almost in everything we do. You're going to spend 30% of your life at work. I only have one goal for anybody listening to this. I want you to go to work and go, I love this. And I have a story to tell. So it wasn't this morning. It was yesterday morning. I have a son. His name's Bo. He's 16. And he's been studying so hard. And I go, hey, buddy, how you doing? He's like, I don't want to go to school today. And I was mocking him. I go, I don't want to go to work today. He goes, that's not true. So I was like, hey, because he knows how much I love coming to work. And it's not perfect. I want this for you guys. And so I'm going to tell you that the more you step into this, the more you get a piece of it. And the more you get a piece of it, and the better it gets. Now, what are core values really? Because they're not new. They've been around for a long time. And there was a point in time where people were making them too fluffy and and now I think they're back stronger than ever. What are they really? Forbes magazine defines it as this. They are authentically, they're real. They authentically define how you and your team, number one, operate, number two, behave, and number three, interact on a daily basis. And I couldn't agree more. And the reason I like this definition is My coach said it's how everyone behaves, but I think it's bigger than that. I think it's how we operate. It's how we make decisions. It's how we interact. So I'm accountable for my behavior, but I'm also accountable for how we operate and how we interact on a daily basis, not only as a team, but also with our customers. Now,
can I talk to that?
Please do.
Really quick. I love this so much. And you told me about this. I'm like, yes, this makes so much sense, because every single system, agreement, policy, or protocol that we put in place in the practice, our core values should bleed through all of those. And that's where that operate and interact on a day-to-day basis comes from. Because we talk about core values being behaviors. Yes, they are. And they should be verbs. We'll get into that here in a minute. Like there are actions, but everything we'll do in the practice, all the decisions that we make and how we act on those, that operate and interact on daily basis, totally rings true here, because it should bleed through every single piece of your practice.
So well said. Absolutely agree. Now, there are different types of values, and this comes from Patrick Lencioni. Heather, I would love for you to describe the different types of values.
Yeah, so we often will walk our clients through this, because there is a difference between something that you want to be, something that you aren't quite yet, something that isn't really truly core, that differentiates you and is a behavior that we need to and want to call out. For example, our permission to play. So these are the minimal things that somebody has to do. Like you need them to be on time. You need them to tell the truth. Those kinds of things that's permission to play. If you have a chronically lying team member and you have to put a core value in that's like always tell the truth, that's definitely permission to play. You're accidental. These are things that come about and are part of who you are, but aren't necessarily core and are guiding those behaviors that we were talking about before, like bleeding through everything in the practice. Aspirational. This is key here. These are things that we want to be, that we are striving to be, and that we're hoping that we can achieve in the future, but we aren't yet. And we, meaning the doctor, the practice owner, because your core values, if you don't live those now, your team members will see right through you. So that's the difference between the aspirational and the core. Aspirational are things that we aren't yet, and core are things that the doctor and the practice owner has those characteristics already. And they really are that foundational piece in place that are going to guide so many decisions and actions that we make.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you look at these different types of values, the one thing I would say as a coach is just like be patient in this whole process and try to use as simple of language as possible, meaning that anyone, and I do mean anyone, could go, I know exactly what that means. Try to say more in fewer words. Because with the first round I did this, I had a sentence for each one of them. And my coach was like, stop, like this is getting messy. And now you're going to have to like explain it all. And so and I'll give you an example. I've always been a fan of CE. And one of the things that I struggled with building a team is, there were people that like CE and didn't like CE. And I just put the flag in the ground. I'm like, I got to work with people that only want to grow. It doesn't always have to be CE, but they got to be interested in growing and getting better. And so I was like, well, I really want people that are like growth minded and CE based and like to read books. And like, that was where I started. And my coach was like, ABG. I'm like, what? He's like, ABG. You want people that are always be growing. I'm like, how can you make it that simple? He's like, I do this all the time with big companies, ABG. And I never forgot that. I'm like, that says exactly what I want. And then my faith is always important to me. I'm a big believer that you give more than you get, and you always want to be given to the world. And he's like, give greater than get, go. I was like, that's it. And so now I was working with a coach, and it took a lot of time. But in this process, he was able to define where each one of these were and say, that's not really a value, get that out. And so if you need help with this, we're so happy to help. But we want to give you some type of a framework to understand, what is and what isn't a value. I'll just go there because I don't care anymore. People say excellence is a value. No, it's not. I get it, like excellence. But like if I'm a team member, what does that mean? If we're going to talk food, my definition of excellence is going to be hugely different than yours, or wine or anything like that. So and that's really not what you want in value-based operational type stuff. You're looking for people that are committed to certain behaviors and rules and interaction, not necessarily clinical excellence. And so when you get these right, you're going to see people will pick them up. They'll go, I love this. This is part of who I am. And they have to be verbs. Core values guide your employees and how they behave. They create clarity. So you should be able to call them out when it's happening. And again, I'll use another one, like all in attitude is my favorite. And I use this example all the time, but Barrett, our CEO, is one of the first to take the trash out. Like he's all in. He's like, I've run this. I get it, but it's trash. I'll take it out. I'll do this. I've seen him bust tables. I've seen him refill. There's no, he'll make coffee. That's some of the stuff that you can point to that you go, there's a verb that's coming alive. And making them actionable words or phrases helps with clarity, not nouns. So, and Simon Sinek uses honesty or always tell the truth. Anything you would add, Heather?
No, just make them actionable. If you come up with your core values and it's more of a statement or, I don't know. It's like if you can clearly see, like you said before, I know exactly what this means. If I can clearly see the action that my team members are going to take based on this statement, then you've hit gold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what role do these values play in team culture? I'll let you take this one because I could talk forever on this one.
Oh my goodness, this is a huge one. So they play a huge role. I mean, this is your culture foundation right here. So because we've talked about values are the behaviors, these are the actions that we can take in order to show up the best way that we can for our team, for the practice, and for our patients. When we do that, it helps each team member to know and understand that I know that my team member is going to show up the same way that I show up every day. So it does help to cultivate that trust that a team really, really needs in order to engage in healthy conflict and commitment and other pieces to hold each other accountable. They're not going to do that unless they're all on the same page in regard to the top values and behaviors that they should be doing together. When we do then I know I have, it's like relief. I know that my team member is going to act in the same way that I do at work when it comes to those specific and most important characteristics.
Yeah. And let's face it, this stuff is the stuff that frustrates you the most. It's when somebody doesn't behave or interact in a way that would align with the way you would like it to be. Now, it starts with the leader. And let me make this even as simple as I possibly can. I heard somebody say this. Your favorite people care about the same things that you care about. Real simple. Your least favorite people, they care about things that you don't care about, or we just kind of care about different things. Now, let's just step out of dentistry. You used to have friends, everybody listening to this, you used to have friends that you were so tight with, and now we're just not that tight. And the reason we're not tight is that their interests or what they value, I get it, but it's not something I want to do, or it's not valuable to me. It doesn't make it bad. What's important is for you, who's leading the organization, to really ask the question, what do I value? Because, again, let me go back to this. I'm going to spend 30% of my life at work. I value people that are all in, give greater than get, always be growing, walk our talk. The more I can be around people like that, the happier I am. And the same principle applies for you. And so your question is going to be how do I identify my core values? Again, be patient. We have a tool. I'm going to walk you through it. And it's the most important thing dental practice owners could ever do. Other than core purpose, I would put those hand in hand. They're similar in their value, but even if you didn't get your core, let me say this, if you didn't get your core purpose right, and you kind of struggled with that for 30 years, hopefully you get your core values right. And that'll make at least the work fun, but you don't quite know why you were put here on the planet. That's a whole nother conversation. But you guys can have this as a function of being here today. It's actually the tool that we use in our coaching program. There's 4 steps. I'll walk you through each one of them. And it's it's very important to go in order. I did not go in order. I'll explain here in a second. I went where I wanted to go because I was frustrated when I started this exercise. So the first step is to identify 1 to 3 current or former employees, team members who really embody what's best about your dental practice. Like just all I want you to do is think about this. Let me think of 1 to 3 people that I really enjoyed working with or being a part of this team. What specifically about them made it so great, either current or past? And this is where you start your list of potential core values, because if I listen to you explain this, I'm going to see a common thread in each one of those things. And that's where you start to write this down. Step number 2, which is where I started from, I call this the anti-value section, is identify 1 to 3 current or former employees who, even if they were really talented, were a poor fit for your dental practice. List what specifically made them a bad fit for the practice. So me, when I started to do this work, because I'm a slow learner, I did it from a bad place. I'm like, well, I'm going to talk about the behaviors I don't like. And I started there. And that, the learning that I have from that is that what you focus on grows, whether it be positive or negative. And so in this exercise, we want you to focus on what's the important piece of pulling forward, but then also identify, what you don't like in certain team members, whether they be current or past.
Kirk, I want to layer onto this. So core values really, like you said before, like if it's so frustrating that somebody is doing a particular task in a certain way or behaving a certain way, and it just really is rubbing you the wrong way, that is definitely like the pet peeve factor is what I call it. Like, oh, that's such a pet peeve of mine. Why don't they just do it this way? That right there is probably the opposite, is one of your core values. Because I have a couple of clients who are like, it just really bothers me that my team doesn't take initiative. They don't have ownership over this. Like, there's your core value right there. Take initiative. That's a core value right there. Just to be the complete opposite of that. When I was going through the process myself, I really have a hard time with people that have egos and they go around boasting about themselves. Oh, that drives me crazy. Like, it's just, you can be confident, right? And proud of the accomplishments that you've been able to achieve, but going around and like telling everybody, like, come on. Yeah. So that's where my humility one came from, and it's evolved since then. But that's the piece here, is to don't just focus on the bad characteristic, focus on the opposite of that. And that is what is probably going to contribute to your core value list.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. 100%, Heather. Absolutely agree. And one more thing I'll just ask you to consider based on what Heather said and what you're looking here at the screen on is write this down. Nothing frustrates a great team member than when you consistently tolerate a bad one. And that was me. That's where it came from, because I was trying to rehabilitate people, tell people how to interact. I was spending a lot of time and a lot of words and a lot of phone calls at night and a lot of texts back and forth on like, how do I get somebody to not behave badly without having really good values in place to put the flag in the ground on this. So it's really important when you start to do that. Step number 3 is you got to look in the mirror. Taking a list of all these possible core values, look at them at the lens of whether you, the dentist, or the leader, like these really matter. And if yes, keep them on the list. If no, it's got to be removed as aspirational values. And that's the value of working with a coach, because a coach will just go, that's not even a value. Get that out of there. Because you're going to spend a lot of time and energy around them. And then number 4, ask the question that if the industry changed, they can't be dental specific. That's the thing. You can't make it. If the whole industry changed, would these values still be relevant in a new type of business? Because that's the acid test. They aren't dental specific or business model specific in this whole process. And once you answer these 4 questions, and you're going to do them in a row, you're going to keep doing them, keep working on them. Again, it's the most important thing you'll ever do in your business. You're going to identify 3 to 5 core values. We have 6 of them. We coach people, try not to go north of 5. I couldn't help myself because I love the exercise. So we do have 6, and they're important in this whole process. And then you have to do a top-down thing. Here's the other thing I'll just say. Once you get this in place, you're going to see how powerful it is. But the challenge is sometimes leaders or dentists or partners are not aligned on the values. You can do this work, but if you have a 3-doctor partnership and they are not aligned in the values, this is a waste of time, because the cracks in your value system will be so evident to everybody that's watching you. They'll just listen to this and not believe anything. You have to hold your partners and your other leaders accountable to these values at the top. And I'll just say this too. This is the sad part of our work, is that when two people's value system, either in a relationship or in a business, don't line up at the top, it never works. Ever. Never works. Unless there's only one instance where it works. One person has to give up on who they are. They have to numb themselves to what they really want in order to stay in relationship. And that's the truth of the value system. But what's really cool is the upside, because you can actually give voice and word and behavior to these things that make you so happy in this thing called work. Now, a couple examples, because some of you might like, what is this? These are people in the accidental community, and we have a ton of these. Richard Caven, shout out to you. I love this. Trusted, passionate, inspired to improve team engagement. Matt and Sarah Carls, I love how they do. Actually, I think I have a photo. Yes, in the break room. So they have this in the break room downstairs. And just like this, like Matt, if you're listening, so he's like, hey, do you mind if we borrow one of your values? I'm like, heck yeah. Don't. Like, I borrowed almost all of ours. Like, I don't know that one of our values is original. I looked at other companies and other things, and I'm like, ooh, I'm totally borrowing. If there's a value on here, use it, borrow it. If somebody said it better than the way you're saying it, totally. But it's so fun to watch them lean into this and how it all works. Mike Mead, it's awesome. He's got 4. He put them in frames. He couldn't wait to share them. I love this. And so if you ask him about these, he'll spend 30 minutes explaining how important they are, how they develop them, how they use them. Rich and Lacey Gilbert, same thing. Now, they have a big team in Florida, so he created this flyer. And so he's like, I got to look for a specific type of team member. So I got to be on the search for talent. And so we're looking for somebody who's a responsibility taker, we before me, fun loving, and they got to be wanting to be better. Sean Magelson, it's awesome. Now, I've got a ton of these. I actually have like a bunch of these. Let me jump ahead here. Oh, I was in a steakhouse. Yeah, I was in a steakhouse in Pittsburgh. Some of you heard this story. And I was with Seattle Study Club there. And like every dinner, you know, these dentists take me out to dinner. And they're like, you don't understand Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's hard. How are people finding great people? And I said, you know, it starts with values. And like half of the table is rolling their eyes. They're like, oh gosh, here he goes again. Give me some. And while I was explaining the importance of values, our waiter is like, what did you say? I go, core values. He's like, can I show you mine? I'm like, absolutely. He goes, we call them our principles. And he took this out of his pocket. You guys take a screenshot of this. He's like, every team member, doesn't matter who they are, has got one of these in their pockets. And he took the time to describe each one of them. And I said to him, how important is it that you do this in an amazing steakhouse? He goes like, it's the most important thing. He goes, watch this. He pulled a kid that was busting tables. He goes, come over here. How long have you been here? 2 weeks. How much do we talk about our principles? He's like, every day we talk about our principles. It's so cool. And then he brought the manager over and said, I'm going to have you talk to our manager about how important this is. And the manager went on and on and on. This is how you find and keep great people. It's got to be bigger than the job. I was like, amen. And I asked them if I could have one. They go, you can have a bunch of these. So I took a stack of them. So tell me about this one too.
So Insight Dental from Fargo, North Dakota, shout out to you guys. We love so much when our teams put something like this together and they give a graphic to the word that they're feeling as well. I just love that they come up with something like contagious positivity. You know, there seems to be a little bit of a theme with a lot of the core values that show up in our community as well, like growth mindset. That's a big one. And when you said the Carls, when they said, can I borrow one of your core values? You guys will see through some of these, you can keep going. All in attitude is one that like 80% of our clients, I think, have and take. We before me as well shows up multiple times, which I love. The above the line, below the line that you saw in a slide just previous. That's actually a video. Next one. That's a video that we share with a lot of our clients. It resonates so much with so many of the people in our community that Sarah Mahar out in Michigan, she decided to make it one of her core values because it was just that important to her that her team stay above the line. Again, like growth mindset showing up again, these multiple things. It's okay to steal, if you will. It resonates with you for a reason because it's one of your values. And people in our community, they're in our community for a reason because we share values. We care, like you said, Kirk, we care about the same things.
Yeah. And the next phase, once you get them set, then put some graphics behind them. Have some fun stuff. Create a t-shirt. The first thing we did, Adriana created Swell bottles, the drinking water bottles, and put them on every one of them, gave them out to the team members. I loved it. And then you're going to always have to find a way to bring them to life. Andy, the amazing Andy around here gave me a phrase yesterday. He goes, they're not just on the walls, they're in the halls. I'm like, ooh, I love that. So however you bring them alive, you need to do it. Now, shout out to Brett Levin and Jennifer Durst, who are in Colorado. They've built, now I'll tell you what they did. They have like a very large, organization of practices. I don't suggest people do this, but they now have over 40 practices and 400 team members. Now, beside that, I asked them, like, how do you do this? They go, culture. I'm like, I love that. She's like, no, we have a culture playbook. I said, can I have a copy of it? She said, absolutely. When we bring people on, we let them know, you be you, but align with us. And let me explain what that means. Let me say that again. She said it so well. She's like, no, we want people to be them, but we want them to align with us. And what that means is in this organization, we have a set of values. And she showed me their culture playbook and I copied it. So actually, Heather was one of our leaders. I did not come up with this, but I'm so proud of it. And you guys can have a copy of it if you want. You can send me an email, Kirk@Connect. I'll send you a paper copy because I love it. And I want you to create something that makes a statement. And so this is a little bit what's there. So I wanted to put it in a letter to any new teammate. We're looking to hire a few new people. I want to let them know this is not just a job. This is a calling. And then just a couple other things. What is culture? What does it really mean to us? What are our core values? Like specifically, what are they? And giving name and voice to them, adding some energy to them. And so I think it's important that you make a statement, let people know what it's all about. And as they come aboard, or as you have an existing team and you make these come alive in this whole process, you'll see they lean into them. They give energy to them. They do things on their own that you would never do. Oh, one more thing. They find other people. They go, I have a friend who would totally fit here, and they bring them over. And what you ultimately do is you start to attract more people that care about the same things that you care about. But as a leader, I like this phrase. Write this one down. Tone from the top. The tone from the top has to be consistent. We're going to stick to our values no matter what happens in our business. And this is who we are. This is how we interact. This is how we behave. And this is how we do what we do in this whole process. Now, I also put a brand manifesto in there. But it's a great way that's physical. It's a literal document, and it starts you on that process, because the big thing you're going to have to do with any team members, new or existing, is you're going to have to explain, what do these really mean? So let's talk about how we use this for newer team members in our unique employment proposition. Heather, tell us about this.
Well, here's the thing. There are hundreds of dental offices across the nation. Which one would a team member want to work at? And that is whoever is really looking at their team members as a crazy, amazing investment, looking at the possibility to bring somebody on that can continue to motivate and make that magic happen on a daily basis. So part of your unique employment proposition is that you guys do have amazing team members on your team that embody the core values of the practice. So with core values, I actually had a call with a client a couple weeks ago. They were prepping to start the interview process for some potential candidates to bring into their practice. And I said, okay, great. Did you put your core values into your hiring ad? No, we didn't do that. I was like, okay, you're going to go on, you're going to modify it, and you're going to put your core values there. You're going to talk about it in the interview process. I actually tell my clients to almost scare people away with their core values. Like, you want to talk about it so much. and talk about how important they are and really, really put them up as a high priority for these candidates, because that is the expectation for them to live by when they do come in as a new team member. You're going to talk about it and include it in your daily and your weekly regimen. You're going to talk about it with your with your existing team members in check-ins. And then we'll talk about what the right people, right seat scorecard looks like as well. Because as you said before, like people change, we change throughout this life, and we have to be sure that they're consistently showing up in a good cadence with every single team member. And not all practices do this. And that's what makes your practice unique from others, is by putting this into place.
Yeah, absolutely. Two things I'll add to this is that if I'm a really amazing dental assistant, I know that I'm amazing. I might not be cocky about it, but I know that I've worked hard. I know that I add a lot of value. I know I have a lot of potential, and I'm not just going to be looking for a job for money. The myth out there is that people are only looking for money. They are looking for money, but that's not the only thing. I've been doing this a long time, almost 30 years. My favorite team members I've ever met never put money as number one. It's an important part of the equation. My favorite team members I've ever met want to be part of something that's super cool. This is a great culture, and this is a team that cares. That's number one. I need to enjoy who I am as a result of being part of this business. So, and you do have to figure out the compensation formula. But I think a lot of dentists go wrong in thinking, well, compensation is going to be the main thing. It might get them to your practice, but it's not going to keep them at your practice. Money only goes so long, and then you're like, I got to get out of here. This is just not fun. So this is the ultimate glue that makes people want to come, stay, and bring other people that are like them. And now there's an important piece. So we've talked about the values. This is how you're going to use it. It's called the Right People, Right Seat Scorecard. Now, I didn't make this up. This came straight from Gino Wickman's work in Traction, and they have a different way of categorizing it, but we kind of made this dental specific more so and a little less complicated. But this is the tool you use to hire, fire, review, reward, and recognize all of your people around two things. Are they the right people? And are they in the right seats? Are they the right people in the right seats? And I'll explain a little bit more about how that all works. When you use the Right People, Right Seats scorecard consistently and correctly, it's going to provide so much clarity, and it's going to have a huge impact on your culture. And I'll show you how that works here in a second. In most situations, team members are never given clear feedback or a line of sight of how they can succeed in their roles or how they can get better, or if they're not hitting the mark. What most dentists do is they do what are called reviews. And we do it annually. And we write up this thing, and we're going to have a meeting tomorrow, and it's going to be a review. And the team member never looks at the text on the paper. And let's call it what it is. It's an appointment to talk about my raise. And so the team member sits there in your review that you don't breathe between sentences, and the team member hears this, and they're waiting for the moment where you go, $1.50 more per hour. And you as a dentist give what's called a hush raise, because you don't like conflict. So yeah, you're doing a good job. I want you to work out a few things. I'm going to give you a little bit, because I don't want you to get frustrated and upset. And that is hugely unproductive or not helpful on both sides of it. What we're going to ask you to do today, start this whole process, is the Right People, Right Seat scorecard. And all you're going to do is talk about two things. Are you the right person? And are you in the right seat? And how does that all work? And you're going to be super specific about how they're doing in their role. And so you can give them great feedback. And let me quote this man who told me this at the age of 24. I wrote this down in the first manual that he gave me. He said, when you have the right people, you can produce twice as much in half the time with a quarter of the stress. I found that to be absolutely true. Watching dental practices grow, we have some teams that have just crushed it like last month. And my first question is like, how did you guys do this? What's your secret? They never say I'm really good now. They go, no, I'll tell you what it is. We have got all the right people in the right seats. Now, easy to say, hard to do. We're going to show you exactly how to do that. You only hire people for 2 reasons. 2, you don't hire them for 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2 reasons to employ any human being. Number 1, they are the right people. Let me tell you exactly what that means. They share your core values. The second reason you hire somebody is, well, let me talk about the wrong people. I forgot this slide was in here. The wrong people, they're not bad people. They just don't fit your values. I had a lot of like great people that we've had a chance to work with. They're still great. There was a point where we just didn't have the same value system, and that is okay. I didn't know what to call it, but that's what it was. And in fact, they often rub against your core values. The wrong people, they don't share your core values, but then they also rub against it. They almost show you the opposite behavior, or they're not willing to participate with these values. And that's okay. You got to be able to add some clarity. Now, the right people, remember, it's right people, right seat. The right seat, it's really simple. They GWC, and this is straight from Wickman's work. They get it, they want it, and they have the capacity to do it. So there's 3 pieces to it. They get it, they want it, and they have the capacity. You might get it, but you might not want it. You might have the capacity, but you don't get the job. Bottom line is, when you get all 3 of that, they just get results. They get results, and it looks like they're having fun doing what they do. The wrong seat is they just don't get it, want it, or have the capacity to do it. Basically, they don't get results. And we see a lot of this. You might have a team member who's really nice, but she can't collect money, or he can't collect money. And their primary responsibility is to collect money. You have to be able to call that out. And that's why making this process simple around your values and results, GWC, makes it so easy. Now, I'm going to give you a precursor for how to hire people. There's 3 questions you ask people before you offer them a position. Now, I never did any of this stuff. And so this is why they don't let me hire anymore. And if I could go back in time, I would do it this way because it sets everybody up for success. Here are the 3 questions. You guys can take screenshots of this or write them down. It doesn't matter. And we have a handout for this. So 3 questions you ask somebody before you offer them the position. It's really question number 1, which it's more of a statement than a question, is we believe very strongly in finding the right people and making sure they're in the right seat. I just want to know, do you agree with that philosophy? And I'm kind of painting you in a corner with this, but I'm going to tell you that we're going to talk about right people, right seat. And I need to know if you're on board with that. If you're just looking for a job, this is probably not the place for you. Question number 2 is, would you like to see the grading system, the scorecard, the right person, right seat scorecard that we use with all of our team members? It shows our team members clearly how they're performing here. Would you like to see that? My hope is they would say yes. And then question number 3 is, would you like super clear feedback, because I'm going to offer you the job here in a second, about how you're performing here? Basically, would you like coaching on how you're performing? Now, I like this question because it doesn't matter what they say. It's how they say it. Because I have asked people, would you like performance, coaching on your performance? They go, yeah, which is a no. So I think you're setting the precedence. What I'm going to do by asking you these 3 questions, I'm going to be really clear that we're going to honor and respect you, and you're going to get super clear feedback about how you're doing here because we respect you as a human being and we want you to succeed. That's how you can present it. Once you get a yes in all 3 of those, you can show the candidate the right person scorecard. You could say, this is an important part of your future. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. You might not score really well, but that's the cool piece of it, is that you can ask me questions. I can ask you questions. I can let you know if you're doing a good job or a great job, because I didn't use something like this. And years ago, people would ask me, how am I doing? I go, you're doing great, when they weren't doing great. On the other hand of it, you're going to hire somebody who's not doing great. And this is a perfect opportunity to say, listen, we have a set of values here, like I shared with you in the hiring process, and you have a role here, and I'm going to help you in that role. And it's not hitting the mark. It moves the process along faster. It really helps people succeed faster, and it also tightens up the organization faster in this whole process. Heather, anything else? Because I have a lot to say on this, but I want to add your perspective as a great coach.
No, from you just explaining those 3 questions and what that looks like in the interview process, I hope our attendees can see the benefit of using this as a unique employment proposition tool, because it really is. I mean, how many other places have you interviewed that ask questions like that, or that have an amazing coaching feedback tool in order to share how that team member can improve or modify their behavior to show up better for the team?
Yeah.
I don't know if that even exists. I've worked in a lot of dental practices, and there's a lot that don't, but I want to work there.
Yeah. I have so many great stories, but I have one really bad story. And if you've been into the Top Study Club, you've heard this story before. We hired a great person. He still is a great person. And we paid a lot of money to have him in this particular role. And I really, really liked him, And I was like, I got to use the scorecard right away out of the gate. Well, in the first 2 weeks, I had used the right person, right seat scorecard. And I let him know, like, we're not on the mark. And it was mostly in the values area. It was also in the results area. And I gave him very poor scores. And we only have 3 scores, 0, 1, or 2. 1, you're meeting expectations. 0, you're not. 2, you're exceeding expectations. And I can't remember specifically what it was, but in both categories, right person, right seat, he was below the line of where we need you to be. He was so upset and so offended. And he said, well, maybe I'm not the person for you. I'm like, no, this is not. No, I was in full sweat. I'm a wuss. So I hate conflict. I was freaking out. I go, no, the purpose of this is like, I need to let you know like how I see you in this role and blah, blah. And he was so defensive and so upset that the call ended abruptly. And I go, listen, I'm trying to give you feedback about what we need in this role. And this is a big investment for us. And we believe in you, blah, blah, blah. We all got an email the next morning at like 7:25 in the morning. Consider my employment at Act Dental terminated immediately or ending as of right now. And I was like, no. Now, in the end, that was probably one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. And it was probably really good for him. And I know it was really good for us. And what I've learned here more than ever is that really good people, they love accountability and they love feedback. If you hire somebody that doesn't want feedback, that's going to be tough forever. I love people that really want to know how they're doing. And here's another thing. Would you want to go to the middle school and go, how's my son doing? And have your teacher go, I don't know, he's doing okay. We don't really give grades here or feedback. We just give stars. I would go like, I got to get out of here. We like specific feedback. We say specific is terrific. Vague is the fake. Vague is the plague. That's what I'm saying. Specific is terrific. Vague is the plague. So most team members are waterboarded. They're not onboarded. You have to have a system. So we talked about the 3-3-3, and then you use the right person scorecard once a month. This is how you use it. Once a month for the first 3 months, and then shift quarterly because they'll be out of the window. Now, I was using it every 2 weeks because that was a big investment for us. But really, the best practice is with a team member, as you introduce the 3-3-3, if you're sitting down with them once a month with the right person, right seat scorecard, they'll know exactly how they're doing. And then once you get out of that window, then we just go to once per quarter. Using the scorecard correctly and consistently. Now, the key word is consistently and correctly. It'll give you the team member the support. Now, things are going to come up. They're going to say, well, and their roles might change. This is where you can continue to be in this process with them and add a lot of clarity. And so
can I add something there?
Yes, please.
Here's the thing, like consistently, yes. And the cadence is so crucial. So using it every month for the first 3 months, then shifting to quarterly. If you go beyond that 90 days, that 13-week cycle, your team members they're not going to know how they're doing. And if they do truly match your core values, which, like I said before, there's a high percentage of clients out there that have some kind of growth core value. If they fit that, they need to know, are they growing? Are they not growing? And so you being transparent and honest with them and continuing in that consistent cadence frequently enough will help you to be proactive about potential issues that could come up. I say this so passionately because I recently had a conversation with a client this week that they're struggling with a specific team member. And the last time they did the right people, right seat scorecard for anybody on their team was January. So I'm like, that's not their fault. It's your fault because you haven't continued with this consistent cadence on a frequent enough basis to have this open and honest and transparent conversation with this team member. So it boils and boils and boils up until the point where it's like, there's a breaking point. Now you've got amazing team members that are frustrated with a team member that you're holding on to. Why? Like, because you need to have this conversation.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And so I know this sounds hard, and it is. I'm not going to say that it's easy. When you do it, it transforms your whole practice. I guarantee you. Yes. And then, Heather, how do we use it on a day-to-day basis?
Well, so day to day, I mean, this is a really great thing. I have what I wrote down here in my notes here. I have a client who's in mommy dentist in business, so I can't take credit for this, but it's a performance improvement plan. So if there is a team member that is below the bar and they are willing to and open to that feedback that you give them and they want to make those changes, this is where you can really coach them prescriptively to put into a digital format or write it down on a piece of paper to say, these are the 5 things that we would like to see change or improve on between now and the next time we sit down together to go over another right people, right seat scorecard. So on a daily basis, then you guys can talk about, hey, how's that performance improvement plan going? What specific system are you working to improve today and to learn and understand more? Show me your task list. You can assign an accountability partner. Have the team member rate their day. How was today versus yesterday? What made today good? What made today bad? And say, do you feel like you're progressing in the right direction? I do too. Yes, I think that next time it's going to be better. Check in with them frequently to say like, gosh, what does support look like for you? What can we do for you to help you to get there? It's one of those things that we can keep as great conversation and communicate with one another. I love so much when a team member is open to that feedback. Oh, okay, what can I do specifically to improve that score next time? Because I don't know about you, but as a team member, I want all 2s. If it's the highest number, I want A's, I want 2s, I want the highest that I possibly can. So if you do a right people scorecard with a team member and they're below the bar and they want to improve their scores, but you leave it at that and you don't have that consistent communication or a specific prescriptive plan, then you're not supporting them in the way that they need to and abusing the tool.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Love it. One of the things that we teach around here is you're not really a leader until you learn how to grow other great leaders that grow other great leaders. And this is an important tool that leaders know how to grow other leaders. So if you're a dentist listening to this and you're like, I want to move away from the chair and I want to start growing people, you can't do it without something like this. Because when you do it with the people that you coach, and I do like the word coach, not manage. I don't like the idea of managing. Managing sounds too hard. I think great coaches speak to people's hearts. Great managers speak to people's heads all the time. So which one do you want to be? And it's okay to be one or the other, but like, I want to be a great coach for another team member. And so when I present this, I'm like your coach. I want to help you. Like, I'm really invested in your success. And let me share with you what success looks like here. And what's really cool about this, I'm going to do this with you and you're going to do it with other team members. You're going to help us grow leaders here. We're going to have a group of leaders that are growing other leaders. That's when 1 + 1 doesn't become 2 anymore. That's when your organization goes from 1 + 1 = 2 to 1 + 1 = 11. This is when things start to happen. You're like, I don't even know how that happened. The truth of it was you cared about what was going on. You cared about growing people. You put your flag in the ground about how we behave, and you started being honest with people about how they're doing and what it means to be employed here. And you were teaching other people how to have those conversations with the people they coach. And now it doesn't seem as hard. And wow, the results are just bigger and better. And it doesn't always have to be money, but it could be in the aspect of time. It could be in the aspect of how you feel. So it's so powerful. One more thing that I'll add on this slide, if you're looking at this slide, you're always going to have challenges, always, when you have a group of people and they're employed. You know, the bigger your organization gets, the more challenging it may be. And, you know, I got to say this too, like, If you meet somebody in dentistry and they're like, I have 35 people and they're all amazing and they're perfect, just walk away from them because it's not true. I mean, even Jesus had staff problems. Okay. So everybody's going to have problems at some level. And what you have to be able to do is just call it out. So we have 19 people, and then if anything ever happens, don't freak out. Don't just run them through the right person, right seat scorecard, because it will be right there. It'll usually be on the value side of things or the result things. And it's cool if you have a leadership team. The leadership team can fill out the right person, right scorecard on that person, and you're going to see all of it will be the same. What's not working will show up on each one of them, each one of the three leaders' cards. So don't think about this. Don't internalize it. Don't try to explain it. Just put the team member through the right person, right seat scorecard, and it makes it so easy. So that's a lot of information, Heather. Let's give everybody some final takeaways and answer any questions.
We crammed a ton into today, didn't we?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. So core values, they're the filter. We've got plenty of blogs and other posts on this. Like they really do. You put it through the filter. I have potential clients or other people in the community that will ask, like, what should I do on this? Well, what are your core values? I haven't done my core values yet. Well, then I have a really hard time helping to guide you through this, because your core values really do help to set the stage for what you do and what you don't do. Your behaviors, you want more of that in your practice, right? Like Andy was saying, alive in the halls, not just on the walls. I have a huge problem with this, like authenticity too. I have a huge problem when people say, oh, this is one of my core values. And I'm like, oh, I know this person. Like that's an aspirational for sure. And that's okay. It's okay to call that out and say that's something you're striving to be. Core values totally start with the leader. Everything starts with the leader, right? If the leader doesn't go first, if the leader doesn't exemplify it, then why should I? So you definitely need to be the one that's leading by the example with the core values. And once you have your core values in place, now you can set those clear expectations. This is how we behave. This is how we interact. This is how we operate based on these specific values. And that we're going to use that right people scorecard throughout your time here at the practice, so that we both know that this is still a great relationship because we care about the exact same things and those values are continuing to show up on a consistent basis.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. They do start with the leader, and you also have to give yourself a little grace. No one's going to screw up as much as you and stay employed as long as you will if you're the owner, which I've done that. So, but the cool thing is your team members can call you out on it. They can go, okay, that's not really we before me, or that's not really results driven or an all-in attitude. And you're going to go, that's right. And so you have to have a little grace and a little humility, and you have to trust your team members to call you out when you're not behaving that way. And that's when it becomes extra powerful. So I think the biggest challenge, that I'll leave you with is, as an employer or as a team as a whole, your biggest challenge is going to be finding great talent and keeping them. And what you have to do is you got to create so much value for what it means to be a team member here, and then hold that high and be consistent with it so that it keeps people there, keeps them engaged, and it keeps the organization healthy, that you all enjoy going to work in a way that you never did before. I'm here to tell you, this stuff works. It really, really works, but it's a lot of work and you have to stay consistent with it. And I'm also here to say that the ROI is just tremendous. And I'll leave you with one last thought. I've screwed up a lot in this world of business and made a lot of mistakes. I can say confidently at this stage of my career, my favorite thing I'll ever do professionally, period, is to grow an amazing group of human beings, period. And my hope is the same for you. I always wanted to be a school teacher, never got a chance, and now I get to be a school teacher. I think my greatest joy will be watching leaders like Heather and Miranda and other people in Barrett grow. I just want to be the old guy that comes back and goes, this is so cool, look at you guys. And when you do that, it changes everybody's lives. So hope you guys enjoyed this webinar. We've got a lot of tools back there. If you struggle with this, we're here to help you every step of the way. That's what we do. We make teams do this work that really makes the impact. One more thing else.
Sorry. We have a couple questions. Are you
yeah. Please.
So the first one, do you come up with the core values as a team, or does the leadership come up with it and then share and coach team on the values?
Okay, my answer, I'll go. I'm very opinionated on this. I don't think core values as a whole is something that you discuss democratically. I don't. You don't say to your team members, your entire team, who are we? Now, you do want to involve them, no question. But I would say don't start there, because here's the challenge. You're going to have, if you're a wuss like me and you go that direction, you're going to have some strong team members that are going to throw a value out. And you're going to go, that's not really a value, but let's use that. And you're going to end up putting this on a wall or something. You're going to be like, that's not really one of our values. You are the business owner. You are the person that took the risk to do this. You spent the millions and millions of dollars, either in dollars or in lost wages and years to get here. You have to put the flag in the ground as the leader and say, this is who we are. And you want to be able to attract. Now, with the help of Heather and your team, yes, you do want to get them involved after or during the first draft. Would you agree? And please disagree with me, Heather.
No, I actually agree with you 100%. You're going to have team members come and go. This is not their practice. Yes, they are in it. And the leaders got to do it, the leadership team for sure. What I will have my clients do, if it's a one doctor, one practice owner, I will have them go through a first iteration and then ask family members that are close to them, hey, is this me? Do you ever see me doing anything against this, so that they can take out any potential aspirational values? But when they do come and bring them to the team, then yes, the team is going to help hold them accountable to that and say, are you sure? Because there are these specific instances where I see the potential for this being something other than core, because it's that mirror thing. Like, oh, if they call you out on it, then you have to double check. Like, oh, is it really me, or did I just have a weak moment there? So yeah, leadership first, and then you always say, Kirk, like you have to let your core values bake for at least a year, and that's that time frame, in my opinion, that the team can say, gosh, I'm just not sure that's really core, because quarter after quarter, it seems like you as the leader violate it frequently.
100%. Yeah. And the baking process, let me explain. The first iteration we had of our core values, there were actually 5. And one of them didn't make sense. So we let them bake. And that's the decal that AB put on the Swell bottle. And I still have it. I'm like, oh, these aren't our original. It's the original draft. The point is like we let them bake for a year. And so the team members would ask about them. We would give voice to them. And then as we started to do that, and that's when you start to really involve your team, because if they can't weigh in, they can't buy in. And so I think that's an important piece of it. They gave us really specific feedback. And I'm like, oh, that's even better. That's what we're trying to say. That is such a great question. I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
Great
question. We have another question. Could we see a copy of the scorecard you used?
Yes, for sure. If you email us at, I don't want to give you my email because I'm terrible at email. How about this? Heather, is it okay if they email you?
Yes, 100%. I would love to show. Heather@actdental.com. She'll send you a copy of the scorecards that we give to our clients and that you can use yourself. You can actually just use them and just print them off, make multiple copies. They're super easy. And if you need help, just reach out to us. We're so happy to help. Yeah, perfect. That's it for questions, Kirk. Thank you so much. All right. Sounds good. Thank you guys for joining. Hey, if you haven't joined us for the Napa Getaway, it's the Mastery Summit and To the Top Study Club. We only have a few seats left, and I'm not saying that because it's a salesy thing to say. There's only a few seats left, and it's going to be one of the most amazing CE experiences of your life. We did it one time back in, I think it was 2017, and it was epic. And so it's a package deal for you and another person. We take care of everything. All you have to do is just get there. We take care of all the meals. We take care of all the wine. We take care of all the everything, transportation. Once you get there, it is the ultimate CE vacation, and it's really not even CE. We do a little bit of CE. It's really good CE, but it's mostly just having fun. So make sure you join us, and we'll put a link for you guys to join us. So Heather, thanks for being here.
Really appreciate you.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Yeah, Miranda, thank you. Our director of education who keeps us on the rails and lets us know what's happening next. And Andy, thank you for producing today. You're amazing as always. And hope you guys have an amazing day. So look forward to seeing you at the next whatever we're doing. And Miranda will let us know what we're doing. So all right, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.